folks. Welcome back to the iHealth channel, iHealth Radio, the NBC network, with your host, Hurricane H. New day, new show, an awesome topic, a topic we all need to listen to hear every now and then, to reconnect with. It's a topic of something that's essential in our lives. And again, I try to be a little bit of, suspenseful as always. I have a great guest with me, and uh, this particular guest does this work for a living, the things we're going to talk about today. Uh, she's a psychotherapist, author. She's a TEDx speaker. She's a relationship expert who helps people recognize the power of communication and really basically, self-talk and everything else, communication with others and so on and so forth. So today we're going to go deep dive in the art of communication and the science of communication, if you want to call it that way. Without any further ado, I have with me Dr. Heather Browne. Doctor, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, no, it's thank you for being with us.
Yeah.
This is important. I mean, you know, uh we all talk. I mean, I think the first thing we do as babies is like, we start squeaking, and the next thing you know, we're like out a couple of words and everybody's excited. Oh, my first word, my son, my daughter just had their first word. And so we start communication even before words, we start by signal, by just, motions and, a little bit of things. But communication is everything. I mean, in this world. And one way or the other, we have to be able to do it. We don't live in an island isolated from everything and anything, and so it's important. But before we get into that, let's talk about you're a psychotherapist. I mean, what is that journey like? I mean, it's just to get people closer to the work of psychotherapy.
Well, I love it. So it's the opportunity to work with people who know that they're having a tough time with something or want to do something differently. And they've basically tried every way they know how, and it hasn't come together as I'd like. So they reach out to me or someone like me who's been trained and I've spent 27 years being a psychotherapist. And so it has quite a bit under your tool belt and can have a different viewpoint because you're not intimately involved in it. And so they'll come and share what they want to work on. It might be grief, it might be depression, it might be lack of purpose, it might be they just argue all the time with their partner, whatever it might be. And I help them figure out what's going on and how to change things up so that they're more successful, and feel better about themselves and more congruent. And that's what I do. I just help people learn how to be their best self in the way that they want to be.
Well, I've always been, mesmerized about the work you do. I mean, because I've had actually a few shows with psychiatrists, psychologists, and psychotherapists, and the common thing is that you folks listen to people's problems. you know, I mean, people come to you for help, and it is not easy to really just get all that stuff, and you get a lot of different stories, different things, and different angles. Everybody's got their own view about why things are not working out, and I'm talking about in general here. It could be parents, kids, it could be spouses, couples, sometimes maybe even corporate world. I mean, you get issues with employees, and you got to figure out like how to do it. I mean, I've seen different scenarios of those needs. So that's a lot of stuff that you guys do. But I think it is a necessary work, because I think none of us, or most of us, are not able to figure things out the way you can with your practice and your work, because you can help someone identify where things are going wrong. And if somebody's watching or listening right now, for a fact, we all do things not always right. We sometimes miscommunicate. Sometimes we have, a lot of stuff. There's a lot of things happening around us, that cause grief, as you said, stress, all these things, and they impact the way we talk to the world, we communicate with the world. So thank you for that. Now, of course, you and I, we were just briefly chatting. You did TEDx. That's a great thing. I mean, that's an achievement on its own. And you have a book, and we're going to talk about the book as well. And you know, whenever we get to it before the end of the show, definitely we want to talk a little bit of the content and when it's being released, and because that's an important piece, and I'm sure that book's going to have real impact on a lot of people out there. So we want to talk about it as well.
Yeah.
So now let's talk about communication, the big,
Yeah.
C. I mean, I kind of introduced this as like we all do communicate, right? But what's the big fuss? I mean, what can communication do, bad or good, for us?
Well, it gives us an opportunity to try to connect with somebody else, to try to have some idea of the way we perceive a situation. It brings color and some shape to what we're talking about. But it to me, communication is a love letter if you do it beautifully. And so that's something that I walk my clients through to try to help them learn how can you approach it in that way. Most of us approach communication as words. And so we just start sharing our words. And I don't think that's most effective. I think if I start with offering intentionality and compassion, and then I try to connect with you on what's the purpose of this conversation? What are we trying to achieve? Then we start to have a little bit of a blueprint. So if I know I want to resolve an issue with you, but I really want us to be doing well through it, I'm going to start the conversation very differently. Most people don't do that. They say, I hate it when you do this. Why do you always do this? And your mother always does this. And we just dump and kind of vomit on each other. Not going to have the best outcome. So if I say, I'm really frustrated with this, we've got to figure it out differently. How can we approach this from a different side? Then you see me not being against you or beating you up or blaming you or putting you down. And you see the value that I have in you. And that's going to be a different conversation. So what I tell my clients is compassion first, connection second, and then you bring the words because the words will be very different. When my daughter was a teenager, she would come into my room sometimes and she'd be frustrated with me. And she'd say, Mom, I'm really mad at you. And I'd say, okay, may I share one thing first? She always said yes. So I'd look at her and I'd say, Sienna, I love you. And her sweet little beautiful face would go, oh, I'm like, yep, come here, come here. I'd hug her and then I'd say, tell me what's wrong. Tell me what I'm doing. Tell me what's pissing you off. What do we need to do? How do we resolve this? If you're connected with the other person, the conversations are going to go so much better. And it's so easy to do with a couple of simple steps, but we don't do it. We're really sloppy. If I want to make dinner, I don't just open the refrigerator and say, oh, cottage cheese, yogurt, ham, mushrooms, ketchup, syrup. I wonder what this is. I follow a recipe. And if you look at communication in the same way, a conversation is for sure a recipe. Do you want it to be slop or do you want it to come out with a resolution? And we just are not conscious of what we're doing, which is really silly because we have so many conversations that are pointless, that are only going to hurt, that aren't going to end up the way. How many times have you been in a texting string with someone and they completely do not get what you're saying and you're back? I didn't mean that. No, that's not what I meant. And, If we would just take the time to set things up better, it'll go so much better.
We say it got lost in translation. you know,
All the time.
all the
And it
time.
does.
Well, it does. Well, thank you, Doc. And it's funny. Like you kind of invoke the three C's here: the compassion, connection, and communication. So I love that. And we don't like. Listen, I'm listening to you. Like we communicate by default, right? Because that's like something we do since we are
Yes.
born, right? As soon as you stop talking, you're like quack 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 quack, and we talk and talk and talk. But really, do we really relate the stuff correctly? And sometimes we wonder why things are not getting any results. We're clashing with people. You basically, I mean, there's that expression: you can get more with honey than you get with vinegar, right?
Yeah.
Because how you say things, right? It's not what you say, it's how you say it. But that's the thing. We're not trained to really be, kind of polished from day one. That's the problem. I mean, you
But
know,
isn't that silly? Since so much of our life is based on communication, pretty much every job, every relationship, I don't really know why we're not taught in these things. I came up with what are 4 questions to ask before you step into any important conversation.
all right,
And
I want to
people
hear
are like,
those.
well, what would that be?
Uh-huh.
And you think about it. So the first one is, Why are you having this conversation? What is the outcome that you want to have? If you can't determine before you start a conversation what you're trying to step into, you're not ready yet. The second is this conversation going to bless the person you're speaking with or the relationship? It's going to stop so many conversations before you even start. There is a way to bring every conversation up in a way that can help and support if you think about it long enough. So if you can't do that, you're not ready. Number three, are you open to hearing the other person's opinion truly? If you're not ready. It's a lecture or it's a fight. And then four, and this one's so important, is it the right time? So many people have really important arguments because they didn't start it off as a conversation at the right time. Someone's walking out the door, they're rushed. They haven't had time to think about it. They're upset. And then if you would say, like, this isn't a good time for me, can we do it today when I come home from work? Then when you come home from work, I say, okay, I'm ready now. Can we have that conversation? So instead of it being adversarial, I'm joining you. And when you can start a conversation where both people are saying, okay, I'm here, I want this to go well, it's going to be so much better of a conversation. But we don't do that. We just blurt it out. And then I realized one day when I was working with clients, this woman had been thinking about this topic for a long time. She blurted it out with her husband, and he was overwhelmed, confused, rattled, pissed off, angry. And so they came to me to process what had happened. And I said to her, oh my gosh, I have a great awareness. And she said, what? I said, you've been thinking about this for like a month. You've done research. You probably talked to all of your girlfriends. You have so much knowledge. When you dumped it on your husband, it's the first time he's heard of it. He hasn't even thought about it. So he's like a mile back, and you're expecting him to join you where you are. What a huge disservice. So many times, if we would just say to somebody, we need to talk about the next car we're going to buy, think about it. Like, and then let's sit down when you're ready and figure out what we're going to do. That's a different conversation than if I say, like, well, what car are we buying? So it gives people the opportunity to get up to speed and to actually be kind of equal in a conversation, which is important. And if we were to do that, we would have so much more smooth conversations. We'd also care for each other better. And then you also can have the agreement to say, like, if I start to lose you, if you start to get overwhelmed, you start to get upset, let me know. We'll pause. We'll take a little break. I pace my conversations with people. Like, how are we doing? Are you still okay with me? Have I said anything that's pissed you off?
Good, I'm good. I love it. I
Yeah,
love it. Well, I mean, it's amazing. I'm listening to you, and I see how you just presented this whole thing right now to the show, and I could tell. I mean, this is what you thrive in. This is your world, but really, it's very interesting because we do not see it the way you just said it. I don't think Now, I don't want to generalize. Maybe someone says like, "Oh, I'm perfect. I got this." Maybe there are a few people that are out there that are great at this, or they've been trained, in a better way. But I think most of us, we wing it, and that's the best we do in every single thing, whether with our friends, our families, and stuff. I love what you said. These four things, if you ask yourself these questions before you even engage, you will probably check yes, no, maybe, no. Maybe I have to reset myself for the next one. And that's you. Most of the arguments happen because we want stuff right into each other's face, or like some people don't have filters. I mean, that's by default. They just throw whatever. It's in my mind. It's in my mouth, and it's bad. Right? It's just like ooh. Some people don't have the compassion and thinking like, what is this going to mean to this person if I stated it this way?
right.
Like you said, it is amazing that we need, maybe there's got to be some advocacy, to introduce good communication skills from elementary school on. It's like a mandatory course that probably goes with you all the way through to the university and college, because I think we miss that. We kind of just learn on the go, but
Right.
without basis, without any format. And so we just kind of do it because if it comes to my mind, I think about it. I'm just saying, and I see more of that today. I don't know if just me, but I think people are just like, whatever. I'm gonna say I speak my mind. Okay, cool. But what is the outcome? I love what that is. Like you need to think like, what is the outcome of this conversation? Where are we going with this?
Well, people
And
will
you're
say, I just had to say it because I had to be honest.
yeah,
And I'm
I hear
like,
that all the time.
that's kind of an excuse to like dump or vent. I don't walk up to every single person on the street and say, you know what, I think you're ugly, or you're fat, or your car's dirty. I don't do that. So why would I do that in a conversation? I don't have to say everything just because it's honest. If it's not going to help the person, there's no, you're just hurting them.
Well, doctor, see,
Also,
yeah.
let's say you do those four things, then you also can have another agreement, which is like, let me know if I say anything you don't understand, you don't agree with, and like, let me know so that we can walk through that. That didn't make sense to me. Okay, what part didn't make sense to you? Or what did make sense to you? Because we'll just keep on going and going and going. And then what we'll say is, do you understand? And what does every person say? Yeah. What did they understand? Who knows? And I'm gonna think you understand what's in my head. No, you don't. You understand what's in your head, but I have no idea what it is because I haven't taken any time to be like, so what made sense to you there? Or what did you agree with? Or have I missed something? Conversation's supposed to be a two-way street, but we think that the person we're talking with should just understand the way we think and feel. And that's not even logical because you haven't lived the life I've lived. You're not inside my head. You haven't had my experiences. We'll probably have a lot of commonality, but it's still my perception of how you respond to what I say. There's a lot for us to realize in that. I will
Eh,
never truly understand you, never truly, but I can certainly try to get a gist of it.
providing it's presented correctly in the right
Yes.
format.
Yeah.
Because again, if I'm giving you just my version of things and what I'm assuming you're gonna just automatically get, which is not the case, then that's already off by default. I mean, you already missed the point. But I love what you said, doctor, is that you are going from the idea of the premise that you already caring for the other person's well-being in your way of thinking. I don't think that's the case with majority of us out there. I mean, when we say things, we say them because we just, oh, I see something, I'm gonna talk about it. That whole thing, see something, say something, that works for that reason. There is, you see something bad happening, report it. That's one thing. But if I see something in a friend, I need to convey that message and have that conversation, or a spouse or significant other. But this is different. This is not just report and they're going to take action. This is, you're going to have to face these people and you have to break why this conversation is taking place, why you feel this the way that you do, why things are not working. And it's not easy. And I think that's really where the problem happens in a lot of relationships, and the miscommunication is always in play. And the words kind of escalate, and the next thing you know, anger takes place and it's over. I mean, like, oh, that's it. We're out here and I'm out. And before you know
Well,
it, people are having issues.
if you decide that you're going to be offended, but you don't have to be offended. Now, this is a tough one. This certainly comes from being a therapist for 27 years. But I have decided just because somebody else has a thought or a belief or question, I don't have to be offended. And it came out of an experience where someone said, I need to ask you a question, but I think you're going to be really pissed off. So my gut response is, well, what the hell? Don't ask me the stupid question. But I said, well, I guess we'll see. Maybe I can just let it be a question. And she said, can you do that? I'm like, I don't know. I can try. So she asked me her question. I thought it was highly judgmental. I thought it was incredibly self-righteous. I wanted to like go back at her and be like, who the hell do you think you are? And da 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 da. But I stopped myself and I thought, do you want to join in that energy that she's pushing at you? And the answer was hell no. So I thought, don't do it, Heather. Don't do it. Don't lower yourself to the level where she is because you don't like this. And if you respond like this, now you're growing it. So I took a really big breath. I hugged myself kind of tight and I went, no, nope, nothing you need to be worried about. I'm all good. And she just looked at me and she said, I am really surprised at your response. And I said, I am too. But I realized something. Anything that anybody shares is their opinion, their feelings. It doesn't have to be mine. And if it doesn't benefit me, if it doesn't bless me, if it doesn't help me, why the hell would I take it? Now, I listen to everything that people tell me, but if you're telling me something to hurt me, like you've just lost a lot of my credence into what you're saying because you're doing it in a destructive way. So what I teach my clients to do is to either say, do I have permission to sharpen you? Or do I have permission to share something that I think it's important for you to know? And if the person says, I'd prefer not, you shut your mouth because it's not wanted. I don't have to share with you my thought or feeling just because I want to share my thought or feeling. And if I'm doing it without finding out if you want to hear it, I'm doing both you and me a disservice. So I'll say, do I have permission to share something that I think would be important? And then because people know my heart, they normally say yes. And then I say, okay, I need to be certain you can receive this with love. And they go, oh, damn, it's going to be a doozy, huh? I'm like,
You
yeah,
prep them.
100%, 100% I do. I'm like,
Get them
yeah,
ready.
yeah, right. Because I want it to land without them feeling injured, but I want it to land with the clarity that I think will be important. And I always say, if it fits, keep it. If it doesn't, throw it away. It's just, my viewpoint. But I say that and they say, okay. And they go, I'll say, I, I think you're setting yourself up for failure in your marriage right now. And they go, I know. So when you really care about the other person more than like the words that are come out of your mouth, it's a different conversation. And I respect the other person. If they don't want me to share, I don't share. It's just my idea, just my thought. And what will normally happen if they reject it is they'll reject it. And then after like a half an hour, they'll say, okay, what were you going to tell me? Can you receive it with love? I don't fight. I discuss.
Okay, I have to say, it's
And
it is
I disagree, but I don't fight somebody else. You can have whatever belief system you have. I don't have to agree with it. You can say, Heather, you are an idiot. You were the worst guest I've ever had on my podcast. And I'll be like, wow, really? But that can be your opinion. It's just your opinion. When someone says something to you, like, Heather, you're a horrible podcast guest, I'm going to be bummed. But after you say that, in my head, I tell myself, for you. And now it doesn't say it's some blanketed fact that's like, Heather is a bad podcast guest. It sounds like, wow, he really doesn't like me. Okay. But when someone says you're fat or you're stupid, the reason we fight back is because we don't agree. If we decide you can have that viewpoint, then I don't need to fight you. I can just say, wow, I think that was rude. It doesn't have to be an argument. It doesn't have to be a fight. It does not have to be my truth. I got this because when I was in New York, when I was 18, I'm 6 feet tall. And I was standing, so I'm taller than like always, almost everybody. I was standing on a street corner, and I think they were German or Russian, four men, and they were standing around me. And I looked up and I went, I'm small. And then they stepped off the street corner, and I became the Amazon that I am once again. But my brain went, and I went, oh, wow, this is dangerous. Our environment determines our truth if we let it. And I thought, this is really wild. I need to hold on to Heather is tall because I am. I wasn't short, I was shorter. But we don't do that. We make it define us. We take what people say, what people tell us about us, or the situation around us, and we allow ourselves to feel defined by the other. And then we play this silly game of trying to fit in everywhere and trying to please everybody instead of saying, yeah, I'm tall. And for 30 seconds, I was shorter. It was heaven.
Well, first of all, I want to say this. I do love you. I mean, you're great as a guest. You
I'll
know,
take that off. She's a terrible podcast guest.
I'll tell you this: if anyone says that, I don't want to judge, but they need to have a session with you for real
You're very sweet.
to help
You're
them out,
very
right? To guide them because I love what you said because that's the reality of things. You're right. I mean,
yeah.
we tend to want a certain view of ourselves. And when someone comes in with their own view about how they see us, we tend to really get excited about it. Like, well, you can't tell me that. You have to know yourself and know that that's the end of it. You're not going to get offended by anybody's opinion. And that's actually, I think, the highest level you can be as a human because you're in a good place. I don't.
Yeah.
You see you love yourself for who you are. You love yourself. Now, can we change? Can we be educated? Can we be transformed? Can we be helped to become better? Of course, we can use help every day. But you're right. People, and I think that is the case for majority of us. We make the mistake of when we talk to someone, we project our opinions, our views, and stuff, and we want them to really just take them for what it's worth. They don't have to. And that's the thing. Like, I actually use some of the stuff that you said. Like, you say anything to me is like, okay, cool. We agree to disagree. I'm good with that. You know, you're never going to change how I think about myself, unless you are constructive, where like, listen, you're doing terrific, but, I think there's some things we can do to make it even better. And this is exactly like when I hear that, I was like, oh, sure, come on, bring it on, baby. Yeah, this is good.
But
This is
that's where you're really healthy. And most
right.
people aren't. They want people to tell them that they're perfect when they know they're not. And then they don't have to change. I'm like you. Someone says, Heather, I got to point something out to you because like you're kind of slacking. I'm going to be like, okay, let's get me better. So when someone shares something with me, I take it as a compliment because to me, it means, wow, you think I can be even more awesome than I already am? Bring it. You got it. I'm going to prove you right. I sure as hell can. I'm 60. I probably have another 25 years to get even better. Think how awesome I'm going to be at 85. So there's that idea of anything that isn't working, hallelujah. Let me make it better. Instead of deciding, oh, no, 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 you need to tell me that I'm just perfect and I'm just fine. I am so far. First of all, perfection is a lie and it's all subjective and it's also a limitation. Perfection is a limitation because if I say this is perfect, that means done, can't be any better. How silly that is. Because as soon as we say it, we know it's not true. This is the best cookie I've ever had my entire life. What's the thought we have? Could I make it better? What if I added walnut? I'm going to add walnuts because we as humans want to improve. It's like how we're made. We're creative, generating beings, and we want to make our life better. We want to have crazy, awesome experiences. We want to feel important. So, with that, dear God, I would hope you would change a ton. Yeah, it's exciting.
Doctor, you're talking about, you know, mindset and self-talk at the same time. Because really, this takes to have a unique mindset about things in life. And you always like, you see what's potential. You always see the next step. No, you don't just take it for face value. There's more to everybody. And by the way, that is a fact. There is more to anyone, anything that you encounter in life. And those of us that kind of get to the point where to realize that, and you will just behave differently, your stuff. Now, I have to say, doctor, that as best as we can be, sometimes you get to a point where somebody really gets under your skin, and I think that's a tough one. So how would what would you tell people, to do to really eliminate that feeling of like really getting to that point where somebody really gets. I mean, I think you mentioned something where you were almost there, but you pause for a minute and you kind of reset yourself. And again, you had that self-talk internally and you kind of, okay, I got this, I'm going to be prepared. For us as in general, I mean, you have the expertise.
Mhm.
99% of us don't have your expertise, and therefore we're not going to be able to manage it the way you managed it. And so therefore we're just going to be like, okay, whatever, and then we'll just lash back. And this is exactly what hurts relationships in general.
Yeah.
You see it with with siblings, with parents, kids, friends, companions, work, spouses, and one is always trying to project over the other people's their opinion and their views and stuff like that, and they belittle the other person in general based on like how they want to present, and then everything is, and maybe by intent. Sometimes it's done intentionally to
Yeah.
hurt somebody's feeling, and but so what would be your advice, doctor, in terms of like if you come across somebody like that, what would be the good way to? I mean, I'm sure people are listening, watching right now. They'd be like, "Come on, how do we do this?" Because I know we all come across people that actually get under your skin. We have different thresholds of how we can absorb that. Some of us have a lot more, I guess, absorption. Some of us are really just like saturated, poof, and we just like crash, right? We don't want that. So how do we handle that situation? 'Cause that's a big one.
You own it. You say, you know what? I'm getting frustrated right now. I'm getting pissed off right now, or I'm getting confused right now. I need to take a break. I need to clear my head because I'm about to say something I shouldn't say. I'm going to come back in 5 minutes. And then you go in the other room, you go, oh my God, that person drives me up the wall. And you dump all that anger out. And then you ask yourself, why am I hurting? What am I fearful of? Or why am I frustrated? As far as I can tell, it's always one of those three. And if you can figure out where you're scared or where you're hurting or what's going on that you're frustrated, then you have a different approach to go back. If you say something to me and I'm feeling challenged by you, and I don't want to feel challenged by you, so I lash out at you, I'm not doing anything to clean up. Let's say I'm scared. I'm scared you're going to leave me. I'm not doing anything to clean that up. I just attack you back because I feel stronger if I attack. It'd be so much better if I went off into the other room, let go of my anger, and then said to myself, oh my God, I think he's going to leave me. And then to come back and say, like, I'm scared you're going to leave me. What do I need to do so that we're better? If you can take your fear or your hurt and come to the other person, not in the who the hell do you think you are? Or don't tell me what to do, or you don't know me. If you can go to your fear, they're completely connected. I'm going to tell you that you don't have the right to treat me the way you're treating me if I'm scared you're going to leave me. They're completely connected. So if we look at it from the other side, then we can come back and say, I don't want this relationship to be over. And I think I'm blowing it. I want you to feel really loved by me. And I don't think you feel that way right now. what could I do to help you feel more loved by me? I guarantee you it's not screaming and yelling. I have never in my life had someone go off on me. Never. I've never in my life had someone go off on me and have my thought inside my heart and head, oh, that sweet person. They just want more love. No, I'm like, who the hell are they? Don't talk to me that way. But the reality is, when anybody is acting out, anger, depression, resentment, bitterness, they don't feel loved always. And so that's what's wrong. And so what I'll say is, man, I have pissed you off. Like, you're super mad. I must not be loving you very well right now. And the person kind of goes,
Not expected as an answer.
not at all. But
Yeah.
if you're yelling at me or mad at me, instead of me going back at you, my thought's going to be, oh my God, you're so pissed off. Like, what's going on that you're so mad? Well, you do, 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 do. And I'm like, okay, I didn't know that pissed you off so much. Well, yeah, it pisses me off. Can you share with me why? Now, I still haven't taken any responsibility by saying it's my fault. I'm to blame. I don't even like waste my energy on that. My viewpoint is you're mad at me. You're upset with something. I want to get along with you. I kind of got to try to figure out as much as I can. How do we do this differently? So, whenever I find my anger going up or like I'm about to lash, I take a break and I just say, I need 5 minutes. I just need 5 minutes. With my son, he was a massive instigator. So I would literally cover my mouth so I wouldn't speak because I didn't trust myself. And I'd go into the other room and be like, oh, why is he being such a pill? Why is he being such a pill? And I'm like, because he doesn't think I'm loving him well right now. And I'd come back and I'd say, dude, what's going on? I don't fight back with fighting. I can't say ever, but hardly ever, because it just makes it worse. And the reason you're screaming or yelling at me is because you think I'm not listening to you. So, what is me screaming and yelling back at you going to tell you? I'm not listening to you. You listen to me. You're mad at me for something. So what? I'm going to tell you where I'm mad at you. Like, it's a complete diffuser. And then now we've got two pissed off people screaming at each other and nobody feels cared for. When you're in a relationship, you want that person to love you always. And you hope that they'll feel your love always. So when it's not going well, my viewpoint is we're not loving each other well. Let's change that. I can love you better. You for sure as hell could love me better. Like, how do we do this? And so I would tell him I'm a widow, but I would tell myself when Ted and I were like pissy with each other, like, I know he wants me to feel loved. And for sure, he wants me to be loving him. And if what would come out of my mouth is, well, I don't want to, it was not time for me to talk because I was just trying to hurt him. And no one deserves that. So I would just say, I'm not ready. I'm not ready. I'll let you know when I am.
I
And
have
then
to say,
I'd step back and I'd say, thank you for giving me that time. I'm having a hard time with this conversation. I, 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 I want this to go well because I really love you. But we got to figure out how to do this differently. When you know the other person wants to work with you, it's a completely different conversation. And if I don't want to have it, I don't have it because I'm not ready.
I got to say this, Doc. I mean, I'm listening to you right now. I'm already learning the tricks here. I mean, this is like, I mean, folks, if you're watching right now, listening, we just got ourselves a way to really diffuse any situation. And really, I mean, you take a break. I think that's our problem. We tend to just clash because we want to have that quick response and be like snappy at each other and just like boom, right back at you, without giving it even a split second thought. And that's where it just like blows out of the out of order, and everything goes south from there. And I think what you do is really you just go reestablish yourself internally, and and come back with. I love the way you do it. I mean, it's like, it's I'm watching you. I'm like, you're great at it. Obviously, you have different practice. I mean, you do this for a living. It's just a different story. But the fact is, the way you do it is like you. By the way, I love what you said. You didn't even say that I am wrong, whatever. You didn't even do that part where you took that part of a response. You just said like, I'm there's something how do I do this? You basically are proposing, you're accepting and you're proposing a solution, as
Yeah.
opposed to, I mean, really, and when listen, if you came to me that way and we have an argument, I mean, I'd have to be dumb not to accept it. I mean, just think about it. You almost force people to like just back off and like, huh? Because it's not expected. I mean, that's not the response that you expect from someone when you come at them, right? Now, I do have a question on that. In a lot of relationships, you have some dominance, and some people are more aggressive than others, and you want to bail out for 5 minutes to take a break, but sometimes people don't allow you to get that space. They're just what would you tell someone at that situation? Because that's sometimes, and you hear about these in domestic violence. Someone comes in and they just don't stop and they're all over you and stuff, and you just tend to just react because you have no escape. In this case, obviously, the scenario you're talking about is that you have the ability to, I need five, and you break. But what if you don't have the five? How can you control
Well,
that situation?
go to my website because I have a freebie, which is 3 ways to step out of a fight. It's a really good PDF. It's just on my freebie page on my website. So all your listeners go to it. But what I suggest is have a code word. And it's not like, F you or shut up. It's something like, you know, porcupine. And when one of you says that, it's like your red light. When one of you says that, it means I'm about to like blow your head off and I don't want to. So you say porcupine, and the clue is I'm going to go to another room because I absolutely need to unload this anger and not on you. And then I'm going to come back. But some people go super fast. So you just say porcupine. You have the agreement that if either of you say that phrase, you let the other person go, because the person who says the word is trying to protect you from themselves. And if you go after them, you want to be beaten up, and then you will be. So in my practice, we have the agreement. We come up with a code word that they like, might be taco or whatever. You come up with a code word. And if either of you say it, that means that person leaves the room until they calm down and then they come back. And then I have the person who leaves the room get their anger out and ask themselves, what am I scared of? Where am I hurt? Or why am I frustrated? And the person who's been left, I have focus on, they're trying to love me. They're trying to care for me, and they're going to come back. And I want to be able to be a little softer when they come back, because I do want this resolved. People will come to me and they say they keep pushing because they just want to get it resolved. They're in my office spending a lot of money talking about their anger that is not resolved. So it doesn't work. It's better to take that break and then come back in a place where you're working together once again. I had one time with my husband where I took 4 breaks in one conversation. And he literally said to me, are you kidding me? And I said, I wish I wasn't. I'm not loving you very well right now. One moment where he was a pill, he goes, no, you're not. And I went, it's going to be even longer now. It's going to be even longer. And I went, and I went into the other room. And I thought, he's just frustrated. He's being a jerk. He's just frustrated. And so I'd come back and I'd say, I'm sorry. I know I was probably just frustrated and being pissy 95% of the time, because I said the apology first. He'd say, babe, I think it was me. And I would just take it. I'm like, thank you. But if you own your part, if you're in a disagreement, are you talking kindly and lovingly toward your partner or whomever you're talking with? No. So own that. I think I probably was a little bit short. I think it probably was a little bit terse. I'm sorry for that. I want this to go better. What do
But
we do?
that's
Blame the
awareness.
other. We blame the other. Who the hell do you
Easy.
think you are? How do you treat me this way? Like we take no personal responsibility. And then we say, you made me fight. This is your fault. What? I'm screaming at you and it's your fault? No, it's not. When you really take responsibility, and it's hard because you don't want to have to do the work to do it. But when you do, you have total freedom. I don't get pulled into conversations I don't want to have. I just say, like, this isn't going well. We got to think about how we approach this because this isn't smart doing it like this. Is this really how we want to have this conversation? And if somebody says, you have to listen, I'm like, I don't. I don't. We can do this in a way where we're both a part of this conversation, or I'm not interested. It
Like
changes.
you, it's funny because I'm listening. It's the key word is really ownership, like you said. You own it,
100%.
but you have to be aware of the situation and take a step back and come back. But two things. Not everybody, first of all, is willing to say sorry. I think that's the biggest problem. Everybody's got ego, and
And don't
I
say that, but come back and say, think I was tense. I think I was
all right.
maybe being a little bit rude. Don't, if you have, and, and I mean, I would love people to get over that. Like, why is it so hard to say you're sorry? Do you think you always do everything perfectly the way the other person wants you? Have they hurt your feelings? Yes. Do you think you probably hurt their feelings? Yes. Like we make it so big. Like I'm saying something so wrong by saying I'm sorry. What I'm basically saying is I care about your feelings. So the person who refuses to say I'm sorry, guys, you're not really caring about the other person's feelings. That's a problem in a relationship. It doesn't have to be this big, horrible thing. You're just saying, I wish you didn't feel bad. And you do. It's
Yeah, yeah.
probably partially because of the way I'm treating you.
But again, listen. I mean, listening to you right now, it changes the dynamic of even how we even perceive the discussion going. I mean, you're really changing the dynamics on how we should have the argument. And are we talking just argument here? Because that's really the biggest part. But I love what you said that use the keywords, right? Those like whatever expression, tacos, porcupine, whatever. But when you use those now, obviously, if someone is a couple in front of you, you're going to give them these tools. But people, when they get into a relationship, they don't
Or
have
buy
you,
my
right?
book. It's all in my
Ah,
book. Buy my book, Speaking with the Heart. You'll get all my best nuggets in there. But
well,
that's what going to a relationship expert, me or somebody else, gives you. How can you go through what you're doing? It's like going to a physical trainer. How do I lift the weights where I don't injure my body and I have the best outcome? Okay, you're doing the same with me. How do I have a conversation with my partner where I don't piss them off completely and where we actually get some benefit out of it? Let me show you how to lift the weight of words more effectively. Let me show you how to do reps. Pacing. You're lifting weights, it's pacing. Go up to 12, go down to 12. It's pacing. And you take breaks when you're exhausted. And you say, I need a spotter when you're a little concerned. We do it all the time, but with our mouths, we just let ourselves run and we create such a ruckus. My daughter said something to me recently. She said, Mom, when I think of you, the word that comes to mind is you're gracious. And I went, oh, okay, that's lovely. If we were to all focus on being a little bit more gracious, people would enjoy you so much more. You actually have so much more credibility and ability to have your thoughts and feelings respected, and people with you feel loved. And I don't know. Some people like to fight, some people like to debate. And if you do, like throw out everything I've said because it's not for you. There are some people who love contention. I'm just not one of those people. I mean, I'd rather have hugs and people tell me I'm amazing and I'm incredible and laugh. So for those people, all of these things that I have shared can really, really help. And if you remind yourself every single day, you really do want to love me, but we got to do this a whole lot better because it's not working very well. The downfall to relationship is one person thinking the other person doesn't want to love them and they start acting differently. And even if the other person didn't feel that way, they feel the person pulling back. And then they interpret that as, oh my gosh, you're stopping loving me. And then they pull back and you just keep going further and further and further and further and further. So what I tell my clients is every single day, tell your partner, where did you feel closest to them? Where did you feel the most loved? And is there a place that they missed something that was important? And would you be willing to share it with them? If I tell you every single day why I love you or why you're important to me and how we could be even better together, our relationship's going to last forever. It's
It's not.
really simple.
It is, but it's not what's happening out there, right? This is not the typical scenario. I mean, otherwise they won't be coming to you, right? But that's really, unfortunately, that's what it is. People meet different circumstances, they get together, but they don't have the coaching. They don't have these tools like, hey, let's have a keyword that, if you're angry, the baton thing or the stick, hey, hold this before you can speak, whatever, you have to have something like that. Those are clues, things to like, this is not a good time, whatever. But people sometimes they don't do, but what you're talking about here is self-control, awareness, accountability, really facing the fears is a big deal because to your point, if we are most of our reaction is out of fear of loss of something because that's what it is. We're afraid that you're going to leave, we're going to lose a job, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, we're going to get written up, whatever, depends on the scenario. But if I know already what that is, I can always come back and like know what not to do or what to say to prevent it from happening. But again, it takes that
Right.
time frame to reset. it,
Well,
it is the yeah.
which is better to attack you because I'm fearful that you're going to leave or take a moment and say, please don't go. Please don't go. Please
I
tell
agree
me
with
what
you.
to help you stay.
Because well, some people may take that as a sign of weakness. Oh, I mean, like there are some relationships where someone, oh, I can do whatever I want.
How pathetic is that? No,
Yeah,
but
but
let's think about it. Like it's a sign of weakness for me to ask what it would take for our relationship to be better, for you to want to be in this relationship, to love me. If that's weakness, you need to not be in relationship. If you're in a relationship and your viewpoint is, I am the way that I am, and it doesn't matter how it impacts you, and I don't care how you feel about me, you're really not in a relationship. You're just hanging out. You're not going to have intimacy. You're not going to have trust. You're not going to have compassion. And I'm not saying change yourself completely for whatever your partner wants. You got to choose someone where there's a lot of commonality, similar goals and ideas, and hopefully personalities and wishes. But and I don't have to. I can say, too bad. I am how I am, and that's just the way it's going to be. Deal with it. But as soon as I say that, I feel like a heel. Like I don't care about feelings. I might not be able to change it. I might not even be willing to change it. But if I were to say, you know what, I really love that part about me. I really don't want to change it. So how about this? When I'm feeling super sarcastic, I'm going to tell you so you can leave the room so you don't have to listen to it. I didn't change. I just helped you not hate me. I think that's beneficial. There's the place of how do you work with the person you're in relationship with, not just this is all there is, so take me. Do you really want to be in a relationship where your response to the person is, well, take it or leave it? My response is, I'm so out, I don't want to be in a relationship with a person who's like, this is all you get, hope it works for you. I want a person who's going to be like, how can we make this better? God, you touched me so deeply there. How can I love you even better? How can I make you know you're like amazing? That's the relationship I want, not like, yeah, blah.
Well, Doctor, you're saying key things here. One being like when you get into a relationship, you have to have someone compatible, as you said. More
Yes.
of more of you hope, I mean, yeah, but more of the things that you can share that you have in common than less, and so if you're there, you got to work and one of the things is sacrifice. I mean, it's not always my way. It's we're working towards a common goal to make this work, and I think that's sometimes missed. Like in many shows, I had this discussion about, I do cruise, and there's the Love and Marriage show on a cruise ship. And the couples that have been married the longest, they're the best couple, and most of the time they win that game because they've really been working towards, loving each other for the longest. They stay together for the longest. And when you ask them, especially the man, the question is like, how do you do? It's like, she's right. I go with the flow. I'm cool. And it sounds simple, but the fact is, it takes a lot of work for both sides to make it work. And if, to
But
your point,
don't you want that? Like I am
of
right for
course,
me. I'm right for me, and you're right for you. And if we can let that be, like my feelings are my feelings, my beliefs are my beliefs. Yours might be really different. I don't have to challenge you to have the same as mine, but it is helpful if I know yours, and it's helpful if you know mine. And do we really need to fight about it? If you go to a restaurant, let's say you buy a steak, and the chef makes his steak perfect for you, like it's the best steak in the whole wide world, and you decide to cover it with ketchup and salt and pepper and A1 sauce and mayonnaise or whatever you do, he's probably revolted back in the kitchen, but he's not going to argue with you. He's not going to tell you you're doing it wrong. He's not going to say you ruined it. He's going to say, okay, well, they got the steak exactly the way they want it. They're going to come back. Do you think about that concept? If we do that in life, yeah, make it work for you. I wouldn't do it that way. But if that works for you, be happy in the situation with me. Find ways to make it work for you. I don't need to challenge you on that. I don't want to eat that steak, but you can eat that steak if you want to eat that steak. We make it so much harder because like we think we're so important that the other person should do everything the way we do it. And if that was the case, oh my God, we'd be so bored. If you're my partner and we do everything exactly the same and we think the same, we feel the same, we would get bored so quickly. What do you think? Exactly what you do. What do you want to do? Whatever you want to do.
it will be
Oh my
done.
God, it'd be awful.
Actually, we hear about that. I mean, where when someone meets somebody, I mean, the first thing is if the person's always like, yes, okay, they get somehow, pulses like, there's no stuff in here. There's nothing. I mean, it's just
Yeah,
it's
there's
just
no
like,
growth.
yeah, it's very
There's no learning.
dull and quiet and just boring. But you're right. It's got to have some spice. I mean, you have you and you. There's two real, grown folks that are having a discussion, a communication, a life together with their own self opinions and personalities,
Yeah.
and they meet in the middle, and they have the ability to connect. I refer to it to the yin and the yang. I mean, you have to complement each other.
Yeah.
And it is it work? Yes, it is work. And I love what you said. Like it's not always going to be like I have to agree, but if it's happening, there's a disconnect. There's got to be a reason why the disconnect is happening. But
Right.
again, I have to know that there's a disconnect. I have to like have that discussion, ask those questions before I can get into the discussion. And by the way, I think this is we're talking more about spousal or companionship here, but even in the business world, we do that all the time. When you go to a meeting, you're not just gonna blump stuff because you'll be careful who you're talking to. I mean, you have somebody who's a higher ranking, and you're not gonna just go and speak your mind. I mean, you could. There's a way to do it, and there's a way to do it. If you go completely insubordinate, well, that's gonna be bad. But if you go and I appreciate what you're saying, but I do have a different opinion about this. May I just share my opinion and tell you what I feel. I mean, there's a way to do it, and there's trainings about this in the corporate world too. They teach you how to, to talk to your hierarchies and vice versa, like how you can tell someone that they have issues or whatever. You're just like, well, you suck. You're not doing a good job. I mean, you just killed the whole discussion. Now it's over, right? I mean, now you have HR issues or something. It's all about how you communicate, and again, that's the key. Like this whole discussion today is about how to properly communicate so you have a positive outcome with anybody that you have a discussion with. So I
Yeah.
love that. Now there are different vital elements to communication or aspects to communication. What are the main things that we should be aware of in terms of communicating?
Honesty,
Love it.
integrity,
Mm-hmm.
curiosity, authenticity, love. They're all really important. And if you have those, you're going to have a way different conversation. Part of the reason we fight all the time is we let go of our integrity. Silly, silly. We let go of love. Silly. We're not honest. And we say we lie because we're trying to protect the other person, which is baloney. You lie because you're protecting yourself. And it's such a spiral because I think by not telling you my truth, I'm protecting myself from you judging me, not liking me. But now I have to be fake with you. And so now I don't think you probably really do like me because now I'm fake with you. So now I really don't know. And then I'm scared that you're going to find out and then you're going to leave me. So, like, we create this huge mess for ourselves. And if the way you are, the other person won't receive you, they should have that right. If I cheat on you and didn't say anything beforehand, like, you should have the right if you decide to stay with me or not. I chose to do something that could be incredibly destructive and painful to you. If I'm not caring about you, you sure as hell have the opportunity to care about yourself. But we rob people of that because we want them to stay even though we've been crappy. Like, you don't get to have it both ways. You don't get to say, I get to do what I want to do, and you don't get to choose. You don't get it both ways. And when you really do decide you're going to love the people who are in your life and care about their feelings, you're going to get so much closer because people want to be loved. People want to be cared. People will also be unbelievably honest with you. My kids come and tell me the things that I would never think a child would tell their parent. Like, I know sexual things and personal things and money things, and because they know that I will try to support them and care for them in the way that they need. And it happens in therapy. They say, I'm scared to tell you this. And I'm like, how can I make it a little less scary? And they just say, like, don't get mad. I'm like, well, I can't promise that, but I probably will know more so want to know how you're feeling. And then they say, I let myself down. I did, da, 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 da. I'm like, oh, like, how did that happen? How do you feel now? My role isn't to tell them they're horrible. My role is to help them with who they are and how they are. And that's how I view myself in relationship in the world. My role isn't to tell you how to be. My role is to try to help you be you in a way that blesses you and serves you. And so those are all the things that I share and teach and feel really blessed to know. I feel really
You
blessed to know it because it's important. It's really important. We're not taught it. And it can change your relationship. It changes your relationship with yourself. You will love yourself so much better when you give yourself a break. I really blew it. Damn. Okay. I'm gonna have to clean up that mess. You don't have to rip yourself apart, but if you hold yourself responsible, it changes things tremendously. And, like, this is me. Of course, I should be responsible for myself. It's my words, it's my actions. Who else is responsible for what I do or what I say but me?
Doctor, you reframe, you restructure people's way of thinking about communication. You just changed the way. I mean, just listening to you, it's a whole new packaged way of having a discussion and being clear. what you said about idea of love. It's important, and we fear sometimes that we're not loved. But these things that we don't do correctly will just keep that love away further and further, and therefore it's not happening. And again, lying. You talked about integrity and being honest. Lying is going to destroy things. Then there's no good outcome that's going to come for it. People are afraid if I say the truth, oh my God, oh, I love what you said. Well, if you say the truth and you knew that you did something wrong, well, you have to live with the outcomes, good or bad. You're gonna have to deal with it. But they have the right to know what happened, and hopefully, it's up to them to make that decision. They might stay, they might go, but you're not gonna cover it and expect it to be like the best thing that's gonna happen. It's kind of like amazing when you are reframing these things the way you are and just listening to you. You're like. And by the way, folks, you're watching and listening right now. I mean, this is like, huh? I mean, Doctor, you're saying stuff that we probably know, but we just can't get hold of. I mean, it's
Right.
like these ideologies are there, but we can't put them in the way you put them, and even the way you present them. I mean, it's like unbelievably structured. Ultimately, it is your expertise, and you do this. Now, you did mention about the book. So, what's the name of the book?
Speaking with the Heart. And it'll be available on January 23rd or 24th on my website, on
Ah,
Amazon, on Barnes and Noble. It's out from Post Hill Press. I'm really excited. Yeah, so it's 17 chapters, and I cover what communication is, how to have effective communication, how we have developed as a society in communication. I talk about how you come together, attachment styles, um, um, our love languages. I talk about anger and fighting and disagreement and rejection and sex and money and family and holidays and budget and play and intimacy. And it's it's a really good book. I'm really proud of it. So it has exercises in almost every single chapter because my viewpoint was I just don't want to just espouse what I know. I want you to do it. And in therapy, I'll do that. I'll say, okay, we're gonna do an exercise right now. And they're like, wait, what? I'm like, yeah, we're gonna do it right now. Because if I can get you to do it right now, you're already moving in the right direction. So I do that in the book. I'm like, okay, pull out a piece of paper and a pen. We're gonna do it. And then I give you ways to go, like, okay, so what'd you learn here? What do you know here now? What's important for you to remember here now? So I walk you through the whole process. So it's kind of like a really long workshop book, but that's why Post Hill picked it up. He said, I've never seen a couples book like this. I'm like, awesome. Awesome. And it's going to do a lot of good. And I'm really happy about that because I want to just want to love on the world and show them how we can love on ourselves and each other and our relationship better. And so that's why I'm here.
well, thank you. And I think, first of all, congratulations on the book. It sounds
Thank
terrific.
you.
I think that book should be, I mean, your book and a couple books that I have in mind should be, literally mandatory in, when you go to get married,
I
when you go to
agree.
school, when you go to business. Because I think some of these books should literally be like, here's your training piece. You want to know this. Like how we all have, learning development to give you the initiation orientation type of program and curriculum. These things should be implemented as part of training, and at work. If you are getting married, here's this. I mean, I actually know of two books or three books that really can be. You have to have these before you get married. Let's go practice. Come back. Let us see that you passed this stage before you can commit to a relationship. Because I think that will make a difference in life. Because
It
people will
would.
not just get married, without having the right foundation. And because if they read the stuff and they're not prepared, they're like, oh, this is not for me. This is not happening. I think we get into these relationships and we just kind of like, okay, let's see where it goes. So you're already going with the wrong, kind of foundation and base, and therefore you can probably flunk, and it happens, and that's why we have high divorce today. It is sad, but I think if people have the foundations and like the tools and how to and even learning like what is going to take to be in a good relationship and to be really successful and build. Some people may not even go there because they know this is not them, or they'll be practicing enough to be prepped and ready for this, and therefore they go in, happy. Hey, let's do this. I got this now. So it's going to change the dynamics of people. So listen, I mean, it's definitely a hot book. We need to have these things in this world to teach them and how to do it, and hopefully we can benefit some people out there. And you
But
will. I know that your work is there. I'm sure you've saved a lot of lives and a lot of couples and a lot of heartache for people. And it's great work, and it's needed.
yeah, it is. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, listen. I mean, we could talk for hours. There's more about communication, but I think you really give us the blocks of basic, communication and relationship, and how to really kind of not argue. I think the core is that listening to this podcast here, this show, will give everybody watching and listening right now the opportunity to like know, how to diffuse a really, an angry, conversation. If you get into a clash, you've already given us the tool not to, take a moment, ask the questions, breathe, come back, be positive, own it, and make sure that the people, and you have to realize that, again, to your point, if you switch it as like, I think I know I'm not, there's something here. And then you're gonna change their mind. I mean, instantly. I mean, I can see just that happening. Like you're talking to me, I'm like, oh, I'm already like trying to be like nicer just by listening to you, right? So it's amazing. It changes. I mean, it works your psyche in a different way. So
You're
thank
being
you.
loved. And we respond well when we're being loved. Yeah.
I love that. See that's really it. I mean, who doesn't want to be loved? I mean, I think
All do.
everybody does. We all look, for love and caring, and that's the thing. If we can give that back, changes the dynamics. It makes life a lot simpler. And you know what? It's easier actually than actually the other way around, because you don't have your blood, coming out of your ears and nose, and you're about to blow up. Your blood pressure is good. Your everything is good. You're healthier, calmer. And things will get better. I'm sure there's going to be better times after these types of conversations, because there'll be positive conversations. Well,
Right.
Doctor, thank you so much for being with us today. I
Thank you
just
for
want you. No, my pleasure. Can you leave us with, well, our audiences with maybe one key wisdom, for the night that they can take with them?
Yeah. Check in with yourself and ask yourself, how can I take better care of me? How can I be a better friend to me? How can I love myself a little bit more? It all starts with you. And if every single day you ask yourself, how do I be a little kinder to me, a little bit more patient with me, a little bit more supportive with me, you will become more and more and more and more so for everybody else. And if you have any questions from anything I've said, reach out. Just reach out. My website is www.drheatherbrowne.com. So Dr. Heather Browne. I have workshops. I have my book. I have blog. I have freebies. People can work with me in sessions. So just reach out on my website. You'll find everything that you need. And if you have questions, feel free to ask.
So you do this, globally. Anybody that can reach out to you. Obviously, it's all Zoom type of conversation, or like remote versus in person, or you do also person for those people who
Both.
want. Both.
Both.
Okay. Well, I mean, again, I think, listen, if you are in a relationship and you're not sure things are working out, maybe you need some assistance. This can help. If not, as you said, even having that discussion about yourself and maybe just, getting yourself in aligned, that would help. I mean, I'm loving this discussion today. I mean, again, I enjoy these shows and I get a lot of this stuff myself, and I practice these things, based on what I hear and I learn. So, folks, it's available. I mean, even these shows, I mean, Dr. comes on the show to share value, and definitely do connect with her. I will have the website link into the description of the show. So again, as always, click there. Her picture will be on the website. Click on it, and you will go to her website as well. So you have the contact, you have the connection, and you have the network now as a resource. Doctor, so much. Thank you so much for being with us tonight.
Thank you for having me. It's been an honor.
Oh, the honor is mine. The privilege is mine. Thank you. And there you go, folks. We're done for the day. This is the end of the show. I'm Hurricane H. We'll be talking soon. New day, new show, new topic. Bye for now.